All right, welcome everyone. Today we will have an interactive session with Jim McAvoy. Uh, so I met Jim recently and absolutely loved his passion to share knowledge on this subject. So we thank him for taking time from his busy schedule. So in today's session, in the first half of today's schedule, Jim will share his insights on the lead generation process. We are pleased to have participants joining from around the globe for this particular event. Uh, our audience today includes early stage entrepreneurs, mid-market companies, technology firms, and investment and advisory businesses as well that have registered. So in addition to the attendees from major US cities, we have international representations from Belgium, Switzerland, France, London, Indonesia, Hong Kong, and Singapore, among others. Some simple house rules. We aim to keep this session conversational. So feel free to unmute yourself when you want to contribute. Please remember to mute yourself at other times to minimize the background noise. We understand participants are going from different time zones. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in and we will address them. So we plan to stay on schedule. But if you have any unanswered questions, you can always email us afterwards. So my name is Vignesh, and I'll be the host for today evening. I'm an ex-IBM, Infosys, and also coming from a technology services and consulting background. I am currently with Expense Reduction Analyst Group, or ERA Group, where we look at optimizing cost optimization solutions for the mid-market clients, which is a global management consulting company. So with that, I will have a quick brief about Jim. So Jim has over 35 years of experience. Jim has been the driving force in maximizing sales results across industries, from startups to Fortune 500 companies, helping clients generate over 100 million in incremental revenue. Jim is a recognized thought leader, having guest lectures or entrepreneurial selling courses at top business schools, both Chicago, Booth, and Kellogg. Some of you may have already seen him on the Chicago campus as well. Notably, he's a recurring guest lecturer for over 15 years at Booth's award-winning entrepreneurial selling course. He's the author of Hash Leads to Sales tweet book 01, Creating Qualified Business Leads in the 21st Century, one of the go-to resources in the modern lead generation strategies. His proven L.E.A.D.S leads process. There's an acronym for it, which I will let Jim explain. So his process has played a key role in helping companies earn spots at the 5,000 Inc. list of the fastest growing companies in US from 2019 through 2023 and going, of course. So Jim expertise in business development, marketing, and lead generation for organizations aim to drive growth and client engagement. Jim holds a degree in economics and history from College of William and Mary. Jim, the full floor is yours.
Well, Vignesh, thank you so much for the lovely introduction, and just doing a thumbs up to you, Vignesh, and everyone else. You can hear me clearly? Doing a quality check. Excellent. And thank you to Asia as well, making the logistics here work on the audiovisual side. So Asia, big shout out to you as well and the Chicago booth team. Well, I always like to begin, I'll say happy Thursday evening or potentially Friday morning or Thursday afternoon to all of you. Delighted to be here, excited to spend some time, share a lead generation process with you, a reliable 5-step process, LEADS, a convenient acronym. And what I'd really like to do, one quick question before we start, if there's a way to go into chat or if your mics are off or such, has anyone taken the entrepreneurial selling course at Chicago Booth, either facilitated by Craig Wortman, who invented the course, or by Professor Michael Alter? Just curious. I'll go to chat right now. If there's anyone who wants to put anything in the chat or shout out. We got it. Okay. So for those of you that have heard this before, they say repetition's a good thing. I hope you enjoy it and find some new morsels and nuggets out of this. And Also want to let you know that really what this is about is really having a reliable process to help create, more revenue and convert and create more organic revenue to help make your numbers, get paid more, maybe get better financing terms on capital raises and things that you're doing as well. As Vignesh said, I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm from Why Missing, Pennsylvania. For any of you all that love Taylor Swift, she's from our hometown. She was here through 7th or 8th grade before she moved to Nashville and has had quite the storied career. So Why Missing, Pennsylvania, we send our best to everyone there. And I think we can agree in terms of the sales process. I mean, we're going to be focusing on the opening phase of this predominantly. And no matter if you've experienced a 2, 4, 6, 8 step model, I think we can agree that the opening phase, the opening lap is, call it what you will, business development, qualified leads, prospecting, cold calling, all those types of things. And that's where we're playing here. And the process, Vignesh, I'm just doing a thumbs up to you. Can everyone see the screen that I'm sharing screen that says lay out the plan right here? Is this visible?
I can see it. I believe everybody can.
Everyone
Jim.
should be able to see it. So here's your 5-step process. The LDE, the lay out your plan, evaluating your prospects, approaching the gatekeeper and executive assistant, dialoguing with your contact and successfully collaborating. We're going to spend, because the time is limited, we're going to spend predominantly the time here with the dialogue with your contact and successfully collaborate. And I'll introduce a model to you on the next slide. There are only 2 slides on this whole piece, so we're very materials light. And there's a book out there, if many of you may have heard, it's called Made to Stick by the Heath brothers, Dan and Chip Heath. And in that book, they talk about why some ideas stick from a marketing standpoint and some don't. So I'm going to share with you a 3-part model that sort of gives the story of sort of my mental framework and construct about this. So I think we can agree it's 3 steps. Step 1 is the sales pipeline. Anyone involved in the sales process, whether you're owning the firm or leading that sales channel, we can agree it flows from left to right or from west to east, the sales pipeline. Imagine on the left end, a sales funnel. A sales funnel comes down to connect to the sales pipeline. I think a lot of people talk about we need more leads in the sales funnel. We hear that type of language, and then that flows through to the pipeline. The third and final part of the model, which I hope sticks, imagine a white pedestal sink. And the beautiful white pedestal sink funnels the water from the basin, drops into the funnel, goes through the pipeline. On the right side is a silver spigot, cold. On the left side is the hot water spigot. And that's my mental framework. Anytime I see a sink like that, I think of cold leads and warm or hot leads that you can get from referrals and references and things like that. And so the challenge we have is to turn both spigots, cold water and the hot water, on, so you have a nice blend of warm leads and cold leads flowing into your sales funnel and flowing through to your sales pipeline. In terms of offering you a little bit of assurance on this, I can tell you that this sales process, I've been working on this. I've been tinkering. It's like a recipe, right? I've been working on this since 1994. Actually, 87, I was actually applying it without the process. 87 when I started my career, and worked with a company that used this process, and we enjoyed a $90 million exit. The Forum Corporation was taken out by Pearson in the summer of 2000 for a $90 million cash takeout. I then joined one of those executives to another startup, Communispace. That company later in 2011, we followed the same lead sales process, lead generation process. That company later enjoyed a $100 million takeout, which was a beautiful thing. And the other piece that I'd like to mention, again, I'm sharing this just to offer assurance and credibility that what I'm going to share with you is not, oh, it worked 24 years ago or something. 4 out of the last 5 years, Inc. magazine, fastest growing companies, 4 of the last 5 years, I've been privileged to work with companies that have trusted this process to help them generate more leads to get into the sales funnel and the sales pipeline. One of which, actually 2 of them, are actually based in Chicago, right there in Chicago Booth's backyard. So, as I said, we're going to focus on the D and the S, the dialogue. So the layout, the plan, that's around the Venn diagram, figuring out the geography, size, sector, sort of figuring out the plan of where are we going to go to market, right? And then we're going to talk about, then you think about evaluating your prospects. You can put criteria matrix up to think about which ones you approach, which ones you don't. You can approach them, the gatekeeper and the executive, various ways, right? Social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all these different, TikTok, all these different ways you can approach people. But then the exciting part happens when you actually have to communicate with them. So old school, picking up the phone. I am a believer of the phone. Some people have questions about that, but I can assure you, even with COVID, pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID, it still works beautifully. And what I'd like to do to get a little energy here, I'm going to ask a question in a moment, but by the time we're done, and I'm going to wrap up these comments quickly, I'm going to walk you through three scenarios, and then we're going to turn this to Q&A. And from a housekeeping standpoint, my email, I believe Vignesh has shared it with everyone. It's at the bottom of the screen here a little bit. It's jim@mcavoyleads.com right there. Feel free to find me there. You can also find me on LinkedIn if you have a question later that you wish to ask me, and I'd be happy to help you because it's all part of the Chicago Booth family. There are going to be 6 key takeaways. I'll make sure I highlight those for you. And then 2 counterintuitive questions that bookend the call, the start of the call and the end of the call, that I encourage you all to consider trying. All right, let's get a little audience participation here in chat, or if you want to shout it out over the mic, that's fine, over your microphone. Please share with me the word or words that you all associate with cold calling. What word or words? Feel free to drop them in chat or to shout them out on the screen. Either way, just want to get some engagement here.
I'll say fear.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Fear. I'm gonna write some of these down. Fear. Yep. And you don't have to say your name. Just put the word fear or whatever word occurs to you, please.
I think chat is disabled. I tried it. That's why I used the microphone.
Oh, chat's disabled?
Yeah, I was gonna say I cannot put on chat. I was gonna say it's time-consuming, expensive, inefficient. That's what I think of cold calling.
Yep. Time-consuming, inefficient. Yep. Anyone else want to go off mic and just you don't like say you don't have to say your name. You know whatever you want.
Needle in a haystack.
That's possible too. Yep. A couple more and then we'll continue onward. This is your time. I just want to I'm here to be of service to all of you. Okay. So we get the idea. It's a painful part of the sales process. And I put together a book about, I have to think about this, maybe 13, 14 years ago, I put together a book. It was written in Twitter format, 140 tweets, called Leads to Sales. And I started the book by saying, what do crawling over broken glass, having a root canal without Novocaine, and what was the third? Crawling over Novocaine, and then I got to think about it, having a root canal without Novocaine, crawling over broken glass. Those are a couple examples. And my gosh, there's another one. Gargling bleach. That was the other one. Gargling bleach. What do those have in common? And people jokingly said these are activities they would consider engaging in before picking up the phone and actually making the call. So my hypothesis is that because people don't have a proper framework, they just it's like the worst case scenario. They just pick up the phone. They haven't done any proper preparation, and they call. They get someone who's really tough on them. They hang up, and it just validates why they don't want to do it anymore. So let me walk you through 3 scenarios. There's a great American business story. It's called Message Wrap. Message Wrap is, you can look it up. It's based in Grand Rapids, Michigan. For those of you that were at Chicago booth or still there, and you go to a Jewel Osco, you'll see us often in their traditional check stand lanes. And Message Wrap, it's a marketing solution that allows for the black traditional check stand lane. If you in fact go to a store, and if in fact you go through a traditional lane, you can put digital print advertising on top of that. And it's patented, it's global, it's really a beautiful story. And imagine in this scenario where there are going to be 3 scenarios. First is I'm going to call and speak to the president of the division. The second is I'm going to get transferred to the marketing director who has a lot of clout. And the third is my dialogue with, in this case, her executive assistant. So, and the solution here, before I make the call to Jewel Osco, I know they're a 188 store chain. They're part of Albertsons. I know that Mike Withers is the president upon just very quick fundamental research. And I know Tina Brown is the marketing director. So I know all of that before I make the call. So the first, I mentioned there were 6 key takeaways. One of the first takeaway is the greeting that we had today about happy Thursday afternoon. When you get on the phone with someone, greet them with a happy Tuesday morning, happy Thursday afternoon, something like that. It's just a very positive greeting. 2, I'm about to make the call over to Mike Withers, president of Jewel Osco. And the second key takeaway out of the 6 on this today is my suggested best times to call. My suggested times are calling 7:30 to 8 in the morning of the respective time zone, or 5 to 5:30 in the afternoon. Again, either shout out, please, or in chat if it's now been enabled. Why does it make sense to call between 7:30 to 8 in the morning or 5 to 5:30 when I'm trying to call the president, Mike Withers? Thoughts that anyone has? Don't be shy.
They have the most control in the beginning and at the end of the day, both times,
That's
right?
Yep, that's true. There's another reason why. Chat should be open. We're being told to anyone, so please participate if you wish. And then just to move it along, the 2 reasons why I suggest calling then, typically he or she, in this case, typically Mike Withers will be at his desk and probably not in a meeting, okay, before the day or at the end of the day. The other time to call that's really good is 5 minutes before the top of an hour. 5 minutes before the top of the hour is dynamite, because think about this. All of us live in Zoom and team meetings constantly happening. And sometimes they'll end a few minutes early and they're right there at their desk. So those are the wonderful times to call. So scenario 1, I'm calling Mike Withers. And remember I said there are 2 counterintuitive questions to start the call, and 1 to start and 1 to end the call. I literally pick up the phone. Let's imagine I'm calling him tomorrow morning. Phone rings. Mike Withers answers the phone. He says, Mike Withers. I'll say, Mike, Jim McAvoy, calling on behalf of MessageRap. Happy Friday morning to you. Of course, he has no idea who I am. And the person will parrot that phrase, give you that phrase back. I'll say, listen, Mike, this is the counterintuitive part. First one, I'm calling to introduce myself and our firm, yet I want to be very respectful to you. Do you have a brief moment now, or am I interrupting you? So counterintuitively, you're inviting yourself to be dismissed from the call, and you follow Mike's lead. In this scenario of 3, let's say Mike says, Jim, there's never going to be a good time. Lay it on me. Who are you and what are you about? I lay the value proposition out clearly, succinctly, no ums, no ahs. And in this scenario, Mike says, it's interesting, yet I think you ought to talk to my head of marketing. I've already done my homework. I already know Tina Brown's head of marketing, but I don't want to offer the name. Instead, I want him to say, I'll say, no kidding, who would that be? I want him to say it, because if I ever have to send an email, I can say in the subject line, Tina Brown shared your name. It's a subtlety. It's a little subtlety about it to finesse that. So in that case, I talk with Mike, and then I'm going to scroll down on the screen. You'll see the second part of this. You should see a second page here. It says dialogue with your contact. Hopefully you can all see that clearly. And here, this is the model. You see greet, understand, advance, and share information. We're going clockwise on the process, the 4 steps. And in the middle are the 4 core skills: asking, listening hard, summarizing, and checking. In this scenario, let's just say Mike Withers says, Jim, I'm really busy. I think you ought to be transferred. I'm going to transfer you over to Tina. That's great. 2 subtleties. I'll say, hey, does Tina have a direct dial there before you transfer me? And here's his tactic. Quickly rattle off, here in the States, the first 6 numbers. Say 636-948, and then just go into silent mode. And often they'll put in the numbers 6115. They'll give you the numbers. It happens more often than you think. If Mike says, hey, Jim, I don't have the numbers, I'm just, I wish you good luck, at least then ask him to transfer you to her. And again, please, to the crowd, please feel free to participate. I love it when there's that energy and we're engaging. Why does it make sense for me to ask for that internal transfer to Tina? What's the upside for me on that?
Because they won't see you as an outsider call coming in. They might actually accept it.
Yep. That's exactly right. What's going to happen out of this? What's going to happen is in this case, I'm going to go to Tina. Tina's going to see that it's Mike Withers, the president, on the line, right? So immediately what's going to happen? She's going to answer the call, all spry, full of energy, and say, hey, Mike. She's going to say, hey, happy Friday morning to you, Mike. And then here's the hard part where you can't laugh. Literally, I say, oh, hey, Tina, this is Jim McAvoy. Mike Withers was kind enough to transfer me to your attention. And at that moment, you wait a few seconds, you'll hear her make this guttural pain sound of, oh, I thought it was my boss, the president, coming, and now I got some guy on the phone. I have no idea who you are. Again, we go through the same process. The first counterintuitive question: do you have a brief moment, or am I interrupting you? In this case, we're greeting her. We're listening. As you can see here, we're prepared. I know all about her. We're creating rapport. You're listening to her tone. You're adapting yourself to her. You're morphing to it. And if she starts talking to you in this case, it's really important to ask about, her priorities. To the degree you can say, listen, I know Kroger is doing trying to take Albertsons out. I know Drive Up and Go, the e-commerce solution's a big deal. Just be great to know from a Jewel Osco standpoint, how are those priorities sort of stacking up for you, and get her to start talking. Often they'll start talking and start saying things. Sometimes they'll say, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to give you any information. All you need to do there is say, hey, didn't mean to be assumptive. We go to market solving companies' business problems, and that's how we do it. So for purposes of the second scenario, I then go down to advance. I greeted, we had a dialogue, and now the magical moment. I'm not trying to sell anything. All I'm trying to do is have her agree to a 20-minute call. Not 30 minutes, not 15, try for 20. These are suggestions. They have worked over the years quite well. You ask for 20 minutes, and she could, in this point, see where it says qualify out right here? She could say, Jim, we already have our vendors all lined up. We've got that figured out. Or she could say, we already have strong internal resources with Albertsons. We don't need any outside help. So there's a chance it gets qualified out. Or she might all of a sudden signal to you and say, I'm up for 20 minutes. I'm up for that. So in that scenario, remember I said there's a second counterintuitive question? She's just agreed to you. She's just given you the green light to a 20-minute introductory call. At that point, it's hard to do. Try to do it. You would say, Tina, thank you for your openness, your receptivity. Just so that we can make the best use of your time, what intrigued you to say yes? And then again, you have to stay quiet. She'll say, well, the fact that you're based in the Midwest in Grand Rapids, Michigan, the fact that you're working with other Albertsons divisions, the fact that whatever it is, because what's going to happen, I'm going to go to Vignesh, right? And say, Vignesh, imagine we're in business together. Tina Brown's going to speak with us. Isn't that wonderful? And at that point, Vignesh is going to say, wonderful, great job, Jim. Then he's going to ask, why does she want to talk to us? And that's where you need to have the answer. Well, she mentioned this. And so that then helps you inform your thinking about what resource you're going to bring on the call and what stories you're prepared to tell to further provide assurance and credibility to her. That's scenario 2. Scenario 3, I call Mike Withers. He transfers me to Tina, but instead his executive assistant, Tim, picks up. Same thing. He gets treated with the same level of respect as the president. Do you have a brief moment, or am I interrupting you? He gives you the time. You're talking with him. And Tim, in this case, will say, this often happens. Tim will say, Jim, I know you're interested in getting through to Tina. A lot of people are. Here's what I can offer you. Why don't you send me an email? I'll print a copy, or next time I sit down with her or talk with her, I'll make sure I bring this to her attention. I can't promise you anything, but we'll see how it works. So at that point, he'll give me the email of firstname.lastname@jewelosco.com. Well, I have just figured out if he says his full name, Tim Reeser, I absolutely know, that it's Tina.Brown. Now, some people, I don't know the playbook they play from, but they'll decide to send it. They'll say, Tim's the executive assistant. I'm going right to Tina. Who's the first person? Please shout it out. Who's the first person that's going to see the email when I send it to Tim? When I send it to Tina? Who's the first person that's going to see it? Shout it out, or please put it in chat. The answer is Tim. Tim, the executive assistant's going to be the first one to see it. And then the question is, what's Tim going to do with that email after I've completely disrespected him and violated trust? Tim is either going to delete that email, or he's going to put a poison pill message on it and send it to Tina. And then a week from now, when I follow up, Tim's going to remember me and not have a good thought in his mind about us. So just to go over some of the key takeaways so far before we go into Q&A in a moment. greeting the person with a happy Tuesday morning, happy Thursday afternoon, whatever that is. 2, 3 times to call, 7:30 to 8 in the morning, 5 to 5:30 in the afternoon of the respective time zone, 5 minutes before the top and the bottom of the hour. Trying to tease out the third one is teasing out the last 4 digits. If you say the first 6 numbers quickly, often the person will give it to you. The next one is asking for the internal transfer. Again, I'm just making these really clear because it's subtle often when I say it, but asking for the internal transfer is a big step. And if you heard, I also said asking for 20 minutes. That's the 5th big deal. And then the last one is, we want to, and the 2 counterintuitive questions are inviting yourself to be dismissed and then asking them to confirm, why they decide to take the call. Let's open it up to Q&A. Those are the 3 scenarios. I hope that's helpful. Those are the key takeaways that I hope you can apply. And the best part I've been told over the years, what I just shared with you is immediately applicable. It's concrete, it's tangible. And the feedback over the years has been pretty wild for people saying, yep, try that one and it worked. The hard part is not to laugh when people give up the information or behave sort of as mentioned. All right, question and answer, whether the chat's working right or if we just want to shout them out.
So there are already a few questions, Jim, that were posted when they were registering. So I'll go through, there are 4 or 5 of them. I'll go through that and
Sure.
then we can open up to the floor to ask the questions.
Perfect.
So the first one is from Billy. So he's asking in a B2B setting that his firm is acting as an intermediary, how do you make sure that we would be rewarded for our effort?
So try that one again. So you're in a B2B setting, business to business setting, got it.
And your firm is acting as an intermediary, as a broker in between.
Yep.
So how do you make sure that they would be rewarded for the effort?
Well, I think it's the persistence of it as far as being rewarded for the effort, as far as if I'm here understanding the question, Billy, correctly, is it's a matter of just simply making the calls and just being consistent and persistent with those calls. So as I said, the firm is acting as an intermediary. I mean, I hope I'm understanding your question correctly, or Billy, feel free to put more color on that if you're on the line right now.
No, I don't think so. He's joined in.
Okay. All right, let's move to the next question.
All right. So the next question is with Alex. Alex is on the call.
Yep, I know, Alex. Yep.
Yeah. So what is the state of the art in lead generation and lead management today?
Yep.
And we would also like to see if you use experienced customer behavioral data to optimize lead generation and conversion. So feel free, Alex, if you want to kind of explain better than what I just read out from the script that posted.
Yep.
Feel free to jump in, Alex.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I mean, this is aligned with what you were talking about, Jim, about preparing beforehand. Just
Yes.
And my thought here is just the big picture question is how do I know? Let's say if I'm going to talk to Jim, who's a sport guy, versus Vignesh, who is finance guy. So I will have a different mindset ready, right? So in my line of work, I do that for my clients who are B2C businesses. So I help them with consumer data, so they'll know that, all right, so if a consumer comes in, this is John, who is a sport dude, right? If it's Jane, she's a mom, right? But here on the B2B context, is there a way to do something like that? And so that, again, like the quicker,
I think a little bit. I mean, I'll share what I do before there's any call made. I've always got the About Us page up on the screen on the link website, just in case I'm 100% prepared for the individual to say, hey, before I even talk to you, what do you know about my business? What do you know about my company? So, I always have the About Us link hardwired into whether it's a CRM system like HubSpot or Salesforce.com or on an Excel document. And I usually have it up on the screen. The other part, Alex, is that I'll have the LinkedIn profile of the individual. And I might even go to their bio page to, see if whatever connection there might be. And by reading, and again, we're talking about quick research. This is like 2 minutes to do this. It takes, get the website ideally can be provided to you. If not, get it and store it away. and then the person's LinkedIn or bio on their page, and then you just look for common ground. And over the years, there's so much common ground, whether it's you have someone in common. I mean, literally, I spoke to someone yesterday. It was a private equity firm I was speaking to, and it was a gentleman in Nashville, and he said, we really don't like to take cold outreaches. And I said, well, I did my homework with you, and on LinkedIn, I mentioned the name of a person that we're both connected to, and I made some reference to that. And he still said, okay, send me a deck. And I met him. He wasn't really a sports guy. He was more of a smart guy. He was more pedigree academic. And then what I did is then help my client go to town. And right now we're finding all these warm connections so that we can go back to him and said, you said you value the warm connect. Here are the 3 or 4 people that in addition, we share in common. So between the website, the LinkedIn, and the bio, if they're level 1 connects, or more broadly than just you, the firm, you can try to find those degrees of connection. I mean, one person up in Boston was a platform tennis enthusiast. Platform tennis for some people is a really big deal. I'm sort of from that universe myself, so I can relate to that very quickly. So you're just looking for points of connection to make it simple. And, this and other questions about AI that are out there and the rest of it, it's the human touch. And I mean, I get AI approaches from people and all the rest of it, or someone doesn't pronounce the other big one. You ready? You got to spell and pronounce the person's first and last name correctly. Immediate turnoff. My last name, McAvoy. If someone says Jim McAvoy or something, they're gone. They can be giving me free blocks of gold. They're gone. And there's so many ways to do that. You can call the front desk and say, hey, before I make a conversation with this person, do you pronounce their name this way or that way? And it's really offering respect of proper pronunciations as well. So, Alex, I hope that's helpful, and I'm happy to continue the conversation with you beyond.
No, this is fantastic. Thanks. That's very clever, especially like the name pronunciation too, Jim. That's awesome.
That's a huge
Thank
one.
you.
There was, and I'll tell you why I'm so big on that. There was a situation once where the name, it looked really, really clear how to pronounce it. And someone said, yeah, I'm like 99, I'm like 90, 95%. And I said, there are times in life you got to be 100% correct. And so I literally just called the front desk and I said, hey, we have a call in about 2 hours with this executive, that kind of thing. And I said, is it pronounced potato or potato? Like, how is it done? And the person chuckled. They said, you're not the first one to, say that, ask that question. And just to get it right. And then, I like to bring it, hopefully you can sort of try to put a little smile in your voice, a little levity. I mean, it's just trying to connect on a genuine level. And really at the core, I think what it is, it's trust and respect, and just offering respect and connection. You're busy, your phone rings, you pick it up. It's 2 minutes before your next call. I marvel, people will pick up like, oh, I thought you were my doctor. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then there are all these ways to connect. Or if someone's on vacation, they're like, because I have no problem now. It took me a while. I'm 59 years old. I was a little reluctant to use people's cell phones. Now I'm not hesitant at all. And if they're like, Jim, you got me I'm on holiday with my family. Again, that's not counterintuitive. I try to get off the phone as fast as I can and say, I'm happy to call you when you're back. And always give them like 2 days to dig out. That happened today. Same kind of thing happened today. Yep.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Yep. Happy to share. Other questions?
So the next question is with Daniel. So Daniel is on the line. So Daniel, you can unmute yourself. So he's more asking about a dysfunctional client procurement functions. So Go ahead, Daniel. Daniel, are you there?
If not, I can take a stab at it. It says, or Daniel, are you there?
I don't know. Let me put the question, Jim.
Yeah,
so,
and let the whole group hear it as well. Sure.
So how do you best deal with dysfunctional client procurement functions, which block you from taking directly that blocks you from talking directly with your customer and aim only at reducing your price and fee?
Yep.
So that's the question that he wants to paint.
No, it's a great question. I think we've all had to deal with that. And if not, you're still going to have to keep dealing with it. Often when I'll talk to a company, I'll get through and I'll explain the capability, who we are. Sometimes the executive assistant, they are trained to say, hey, you know what, let me send you over to, and you call it what you will, procurement, purchasing, or sourcing. And I can tell everyone there, I'm O for life when that's going on. When I was younger, I'm like, oh, that's great. Who should I speak with? And so now when I get we need to send you to procurement, purchasing, or sourcing kind of piece, I'll say, you know what? If I'm going back to Tim in that example, I'll say, Tim, really appreciate your willingness to send me over there. And I'll say it humorously. I say, I got to tell you, I'm 0 for life going over there. And then they'll chuckle. They'll often laugh because they know what they're doing when they send you over there. And I'll say, look, if there's just a way that I could speak, directly to, Tina Brown at Jewel Osco about, our offering. Listen, she'll be able to size, she's smart. She'll be able to size us up in 30 seconds. She'll be able to figure out if she wants to have a dialogue or not with us. Now, that being said, there are a handful of companies that are just brutal. And I don't want to pick on anyone where they're like, Jim, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to purchasing and sourcing. I'll tell you what I would do in those situations. I would pretty much put that client, that prospect on the end of the prospect list and go to the next one. It doesn't happen that often, and I typically try to run away from it because otherwise it's typically the difference between someone that'll talk to you and someone that'll buy from you. It's been my experience. If Vignesh, feel free to add, or if anyone else wants to add their answer to that. Again,
Yeah.
I'm trying to help facilitate this.
Yes, absolutely, Jim. So let's see if anybody, I have a few more questions that they've asked, but if anybody from the floor wants to ask who's already there, in the call, feel free to unmute and make it more conversational.
Yep.
Any questions on the floor? Anybody who's already there online wants to ask? All right, so then we'll continue with the questions. So the other question is around automated AI agents.
Sure.
Process changing, and you have some of these routines that are getting the tasks that are getting from the outreach. What are your insights on the effectiveness of these ongoing changes, especially with bots and artificial intelligence coming into the game?
And so it's a great question. I'm posed with it also many times about automated AI agents. I don't know about you, Vignesh, and to the rest of the crowd, but I think we can all pretty much source. I mean, I literally at dinner last night, my brother-in-law, who just bought a place in Wilmington, North Carolina, said he received 40 AI phone calls within the day of, basically closing on the property for people wanting to do mortgage insurance and all the rest of the stuff. I'm just not at a point where I want to have an AI agent, perform some of these tasks. I mean, I actually don't have a tolerance for it. I believe this is the initial impression. You talked about you get one time to make a first impression. So there might be certain businesses where it does make sense. I'm not going to be against it per se, but I have yet to find a situation where if you've got the ability to give that personal touch, unless you're doing some massive high volume kind of thing, where you just get really clear when you're laying out the plan, the geography, size, sector, the Venn diagram, have the 3 circles, they all hit each other for that sweet spot, and just get really, really clear, what markets we want to approach, which ones we don't. I can think of one client I work with right now that is just very, very clear they want to play in the private equity space. They're very, very clear they want to play on the healthcare side of the private equity space. And that's where we're going. So if we bump into a private equity firm that's handling real estate, we're probably not going to lean into that much. So I think the AI agent might have a place for some business where it's ridiculously high volume. Yet if there's any type of real true human value interaction, I'm a big believer of really getting your marketing. I'm a supportive of drip marketing campaigns that can be put out there, not every day, like, from Dick's Sporting Goods or, things like that. You get an email every day from that, or from Staples or things like that. But there are strategies that say you can hit people out periodically. There's a whole strategy. Instead of just using AI agents, you can have a really comprehensive and robust solution of marketing solutions. Again, using LinkedIn, I think X, TikTok, Instagram, all those kinds of things. There are all sorts of ways you can do that, plus a good old-fashioned email as well. So it's a fair game question. It's a fair game question.
Exactly. So this is the question more on ghosting. So discussion happens, everything good, prospect is fucked up, and they blank. They suddenly go dark, and you're wondering here, Andre, what happened? All the discussions went well, everything looking good. So what would your advice be from a lead generation perspective, prospect, when your prospect completely goes?
Yep. No, and again, Vignesh, thank you for that question, and whoever submitted it, thank you for sharing that. We all experience it, right? And the big deal, I think, is my biggest advice is don't take it personally. Often so much has happened. I can think of so many times where if you genuinely lean into the person, you can reach out to them on an email. If you thought you were at some stage of the sales process and things just got quiet, you know, there's a chance that they're sick, member of their family's ill, got hurt. And all of us probably have too many examples where just on a human level, you can reach out to the person and just say, you're not pretending you've been their best friend for 30 years, but you can just say at a basic human level, like, haven't heard back from you. It seems a little uncharacteristic. Just checking, are you good? Did the person get released from their job? There are all these things that happen. And I can think of one, but my biggest thing is I don't let it ghost too long. I'll give you an example back to message rep. We had a meeting, virtual call with someone a week ago Monday. We were going to try to talk this Monday, a week later. We'll talk about next steps if we could, Vignesh, before the call ends, about the importance of next steps. And that call didn't take place. We sent an email out with here's some dates and times. We sent that out this Monday afternoon. No response the rest of Monday. No response Tuesday. No response Wednesday. This is where I think it's important to get the courage to pick up the phone, call the person. I called 5 minutes before the top of the hour today. She picked up the phone. And I said to her, hey, Heidi, Jim McAvoy, message rep. Oh, hey, Jim, and you could hear she was in a meeting. I say, look, I'm not calling to bother you. I just want to, make sure you're good. And then because she could be on holiday this week and you wouldn't know that because we didn't get an out of office voice message. So I knew she probably wasn't on holiday. And she said, no, Jim. I said, and what I'll do is I said, I want you to look at Nate's email. It was sent 11:12 a.m., or actually 3:10 Eastern time. It was sent to you. Do you want me to resend it to you to put it top of your inbox? Well, no, I got it. I'll get back to you. And unfortunately, she has not gotten back to us yet today. That did not happen. Yet, I think it's important once you sense a little ghost to be proactive and try to reconnect. Don't rely on faith because the longer it goes that you get ghosted, the harder I think it is to reconnect. Vignesh, would you agree or disagree with that?
Absolutely. So it does. It does, Jim. So
Okay.
I had a situation where, in management consulting, you're always dealing with the C-level sometimes. So there was completely, one of my mates said, hey, we are not able to reach out to the CEO. And he asked me like, hey, can you just check on what's going on? So they have train wrecks in on their desk going on with, and your product or your service is not at top of their line. It may be for you, but not for them. So they are dealing with these train wrecks all the time, and they have so many things busy on their table that
that's good.
Fallen down in the priority.
I got it. Hey, Vignesh, I just saw a question come in. Someone asked, anonymous, how does the phone call strategy work with cell phones? I rarely get an office pickup and go to cell phones. I'm happy to answer that. So this is a newer strategy that I've created. What I'll do is, like I said, there's a great tool out there. There are a number of tools. I like Zoom Info, zoominfo.com. You can probably get like a free 30-day trial. It's a little pricey, but it's a useful tool where they'll offer direct dials and mobile numbers to people. So what I'll do is I will call the mobile number on my cell phone, and then I'll call their direct number on my landline. My landline has my last name pop up on the screen, McAvoy. So they'll hear that. But the cell phone doesn't. Often it'll happen. I'll call someone, they won't answer. I'll hang up. The question wasn't asked, but I'm not a big voicemail leaver. And we could talk about that if we have time. And the person will text me back, sorry, I'm busy. I can't talk now. They'll just text me, not knowing at all who it is. And then that's where I'll text them back like, not a problem. Just let me know if you want me to call you later today or tomorrow or next week. And again, I'm still not tipping my hand of who I am and who I'm calling from. So I am a big believer. I've made the conversion. Cell phones are fair game. And often people's landlines from their office are hardwired, or they're forwarded. It's probably the right word, forwarded to their cell phones anyway. So it's a great question. And this way, by having their mobile number and the direct dial, that gives you 2 bites out of the apple to try to get hold of them. Thank you for offering that question. And then there was another comment about, will documents be shared? Yes, that 2-page document, Vignesh has that, or if you want to come to me directly, either way, more than happy to forward the 2-pager here to anyone that would like that.
You have two more questions there, Jim. One, so you
Yeah.
can you can read it in the question sections that is there.
Okay, this one says, please elaborate on why you're not big on voicemail. Thanks. So my experience has been there are certain times where voicemail messages might make sense, maybe with someone you know. Okay. Often we know if they know you and they know you well enough or something like that, they see that you call on the cell, they're just going to call you back anyway. Leaving cell phone messages, leaving voicemail messages often are way too long. They need to be super short if you're to use them. And what I found is when you add up all the time it takes, you call and you're like, hi, you're calling over to Tina. Hi, you speak to Tim. Tim says, hey, leave a voicemail. I'll often say, no, instead, I'd love to be able to give her a call back and contract with Tim, the executive assistant, when Tina Brown at Jewel Osco will be available. He'll often say, hey, why don't you call next Tuesday between 1 and 4 in the afternoon? So I'd much rather do that. But if you are to leave a voicemail, and I've ebbed and flowed over the years on this one, it has to be super tight, super crisp, no ums, no ahs, no crinkling paper like you're reading from a script. That being said, you can put the script on a Word document on your computer so that you're reading it beautifully. Hi, you would say, hi, Tina, Jim McAvoy, message wrap. It's 4:15 East Central Time on Thursday, August 22nd. I'm sorry to have missed you. Later today, I'll send you an email to introduce ourselves further. Please feel free to give me a call at your convenience or send an email response, whatever's most, is convenient for you. Thank you for your consideration, Jim. And if you are to leave a voicemail, I've learned this over the years. You'll start it by saying, hi, this is Jim McAvoy calling on behalf of Message Rep. And it's good to say that, but at the end of the call, people will say, I had no idea what your name was. I had to listen to the start of it. At the end of the voicemail, if you use it, you could say, and at the close, again, my name is Jim McAvoy, Message Rep. Thank you for your consideration. So if you are to leave a voicemail, consider saying your name right at the end so they have it right there for you. There's no right or wrong answer. I just think my discovery has been the correlation of leaving voicemails and then a cold person who does not know you calling you back is incredibly low.
Thanks, Jim.
Sure.
So you alluded towards the next steps and the importance of
Oh,
it. So
yes.
this is a good point to cover. We have another 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's perfect, Vignesh. So this is one of the things. So remember I mentioned I was part of one of the companies that had that exit, $90 million exit in 2000. It was called the Forum Corporation, FORUM, based out of Boston. I worked in the New York office. And I'm giving you this backdrop of why everyone might want to pay attention to this one. And they researched, like real research across industries, across the globe, of what differentiated high performers from moderate performers from the sales management, leadership, influence, process improvement, customer service, all that, the soft skill stuff. They had it down pat. And so much that someone wrote them a check for 90 million in cash. That's how respected it was. And one of the key takeaways, one of the key tactics is at the end of any call with a prospect is literally the language of next steps. So there are two parts. You summarize at the conclusion of your call, your 20-minute call, at about the 17-minute mark. You want to honor that, just like we're going to honor the time today. And maybe some people on this call have experienced this with me. If not, it's actually pretty funny because it's very consistent. You would say, Vignesh, I just want to summarize what we talked about in terms of who's going to do what. You go through that. Then literally the language, if you want to borrow it, try it. Just say, so Vignesh, in terms of next steps, we're trying to build a virtual relationship with you. We welcome the opportunity to talk with you again in a week, 2 weeks, a month, never. I'll throw never out there. It often makes the person laugh a little bit. And often what you can propose is the same day that and they might say, I'm up for that. That's okay. That sounds good. And then the easiest thing to propose on the next steps is to say, do you want to do next Thursday at 5:30 Central? And it's the easiest thing to propose is what they've already contracted, because if it's free this week, it's probably free in the next week, 2 weeks, a month, or whatever that'll be. And then you sort of stay on it a little bit. If the person's like, well, I don't know, let me talk over internally. And I had a client about a year or so ago that I was a week into the job, the relationship with them, and the CEO had me on the phone with this really important prospect. They put me right in front of it, right? A tough situation right in the beginning. And the prospect was dancing away from it, like, I don't know if I really want to commit to another call. And then I went back a second time and said, well, how about this? Let's consider that we're writing it down in pencil. Let's write it in pencil. And then this person wanted us to follow up in a month. And I'll say if we're going to follow up, let's say on, Thursday, the 29th is a proposal when we'll talk, we can reach out to you on the 27th or 28th. Because here's the thing, folks, to recontract and book another call and another meeting is so much work. And then here's the subtle skill of it, the expert move, as some of my friends, as my friend Craig Wortman likes to say, and others, who again created the entrepreneurial selling course at Chicago booth. And now Michael Alter has been leading it since, like I said, for the last like 8 years, is to say, let's just put the time on the calendar. And then what you do, send the calendar invitation immediately. I mean, if you can within 5 minutes or even while you're on the phone, because here's the thing, as great as the call is with that prospect, it's like leftovers in the fridge. You wait a day, it's not as interesting to go after. You wait 2 or 3 days, the leftover meal's not as interesting to hit. Same point. If you send the invitation while there's still warmth from the conversation you had with them, they're going to be more inclined to accept that invitation. So I always say the sales call does not end until the meeting invite has been agreed upon and sent. And then also, it's really, really important, the call notes that you take. Someone's got to be taking call notes. There's an expression about tigers hunt better in pairs. And one person should be taking really good notes and then submitting those to the CRM system, Salesforce.com, HubSpot, whatever it is, because the firm owns the relationships and those kinds of things. Right. So the sales call ends once the next steps have been summarized. Part 2 is the calendar invitation's been sent. And 3, the call notes have been submitted. That properly concludes a business development or sales call.
Exactly. Or an NDA or some action items that you can have with.
Yes.
So the next question is on, are there any tech tools or productivity tools that you recommend? What do you use to track and monitor from your perspective?
Is the question what you're doing, like metrics you're measuring for success?
No, what are the tech tools or productivity tools that you are using for your productivity, or any tools that you recommend? You alluded on the Zoom info. Are there any other tools that
I totally get it.
That is there?
No, I totally get it. So yes, I consider myself a craftsperson. What does a craftsperson do? They have tools. I could not do what I do without the following tools, right? You got to have a good laptop or computer that works, just fundamentally, a good internet signal, all that kind of stuff. So fundamental, but you got to have it. And then from a tool, Zoom Info is my favorite tool in terms of receiving information. LinkedIn is another wonderful tool that I like to use to glean information, sort of like what Alex was talking about in the beginning, as far as getting, prep for the call, to understand, are they a sports person, a smart, whatever they are, kind of thing. Those are 2 of the big tools that I will utilize. I do enjoy CRM systems of like Salesforce.com and HubSpot because a lot of information is memorialized there. So those are good tools I'm a big fan of. But to do this specific task we're speaking of, Zoom Info is arguably, the biggest tool to get. It's really expensive. Sorry, Zoom Info people. That being said, if there's a way that someone you work with, within the rules of sharing, can give you access to it, or that you can try a trial. There's another one, I forget what, I can't think of the name of it, but there are other tools out there. I've just found Zoom Info to be really, really, really good as far as a toolkit to do these particular set of tasks.
Gotcha. Other question is on your book. So can you give your motivation to write your book? It says book 001. So are we going to see more books from you?
That question has been asked. It's very flattering. I think about it. The publisher is approached as well, because I did write that in 2011. The good news I can tell you, folks, is that a lot of it has stayed the same. A lot of it is the same. I do have a bunch of new techniques and things to share. Again, remember the faucet, the sticky faucet we talked about, to the funnel and the pipeline. There's so many cold strategies to play, and there's so many warm faucet strategies to play, following up with conference strategies, which we didn't talk about, and others. There's so much to do. So there could be another one coming out that could happen. And then there's been talk for podcast and having open forums like this, because I mean, I find great joy in sharing this. And to me, like I said, I'm 59 years old. I've been very fortunate to be around a lot of bright people. And I'm at the point now where it's my joy to give back and to share things that I've learned. And I'll tell you, I'd be remiss if I didn't say the following 6 words. The following 6 words, this sort of helped change my whole professional career. And that is, and I was on the 24th floor at 330 Madison Avenue in Midtown, New York, when this individual said this to me. And she said, Jim, it was Sairine Burns. She said, it comes down to this. You got to make your offering, and we're talking the sales process, even the early stages, 6 words. You ready? Simple to understand, easy to buy. And so I think about that all the time. Your product or solution needs to either do one of 3 things: increase revenue for someone, it has to decrease cost, and or it has to mitigate risk. It has to reduce risk. Those are often the 3 dimensions. And there's a private equity firm that I've done, a venture capital firm I've done a lot of work with over the years. They also break it down to 3 components. It comes down to the value proposition, being on point. So value proposition, product market fit, and then sales execution. Value proposition makes perfect sense. You got to get that just right, the bait on the hook, the product market fit for your product or solution, and then sales execution, some of the habits which we just talked about, this opening phase of any sales process. And I know we're winding down. Is there a chance I could read a quotation to the group, Vignesh?
Sure, Jim.
It's about persistence. Persistence, and when Professor Alter teaches the course, is a really big deal. Persistence and trust and listening. So 2 ears, 1 mouth. That's a really important thing about listening. Trust is around the residue of promises kept. That's another one. And what I'd say, and if anyone likes this and is a prospective Booth student, Professor Michael Alter teaches entrepreneurial selling. That's where this is from. And that course was originally created in the fall of 2008 by Craig Wortman, a wonderful human being. And I'm going to read to you the 3rd one, which is about persistence. And it comes from Calvin Coolidge, the 30th president. And you can Google Calvin Coolidge persistence, and you'll receive this quotation. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men or women with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, press on, has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. So persistence, press on, enjoy it, reframe this as a challenge of cracking codes and solving problems. You're all here. What I know collectively all about you without knowing you is that you're all collectively very smart, you're very competitive, and you're used to winning. And if you can reframe the early part of the sales process as a puzzle and you're trying to crack a code and solve a problem, then you're going to be in business.
Thank you very much, Jim. We are at the top of the hour and appreciate everyone joining in. So
it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, and great to be